So I have a DarkHero video that I want to watch because I haven't watched yet. Doesn't he know it's dangerous at TwitchCon? Might break his back. I saw this video a while ago, and I was like, ooh, the toxic side of the Monster Hunter community. This can only be good. Let's see what DarkHero has to say about this.
The Monster Hunter community is very often regarded as a very positive one. Generally, our community of hunters is very welcoming, and in fact, a lot of us try to get as many people into Monster Hunter as possible. Sometimes
True!
to an extreme degree. However, I've noticed that...
What do you mean extreme? What are you talking about? I think we're all extremely reasonable. People should all hail our Lord and Savior, Monster Hunter. It's just that simple.
Throughout the years, there is a small subsection of the community that can be potentially considered toxic. Of course, these behaviors practiced by a very small minority of the community do not reflect the overall perception of the community as a whole. But as someone that has been playing Monster Hunter since the PSP days, but also...
Look at him pulling out his veteran status. He's like, I've been playing this game since it was on the PlayStation Portable. My opinion is more valuable.
As a Monster Hunter content creator over the last few years, I simply cannot deny that there is some toxicity in the Monster Hunter community, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Lately, things have been ramping up, and there has been some tension in the Monster Hunter community, and now it seems that players are being kicked from online sessions in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak for no other reason than having purchased the Lost Code DLC layered weapons.
I actually didn't know that this was going to be the first topic, I swear, because I avoid talking about the Lost Code weapons nowadays, because people get mad at me over the fact that I don't like them. People tell me all about how there are all of these games that are so much worse than Monster Hunter, and I'm just like, okay, look, dude, here's the thing. If I go up to your house and take a dump in the carpet, okay? That doesn't mean that, you know, the fact that somebody else has been to your house and took a dump in the carpet 10 times, that doesn't make the fact that I went into your house and only took a dump in the carpet once, doesn't make it any better. I still took a dump in your carpet. Okay? Just because somebody else went there and took 10 dumps in your carpet, okay, so they're worse, doesn't make my act any better. So I find this thing of, oh, this is so much worse. It's like, okay, yes, you're right. That doesn't make this any better, though.
There was already quite a controversy, especially on Twitter, about the DLC layered weapons. A lot of people are upset about this. Some are more so concerned about what it implies about the future of Monster Hunter, and if the future weapons that we end up getting in the games are not going to be treated with as much care and as much detail as the DLC paid weapons.
I feel like he's quoting me. It's almost like you're quoting me, DarkHero.
That is a valid concern in my opinion, because after all, we didn't really get any paid DLC until Monster Hunter World, where there was a couple of layered armors, but then everything exploded with Iceborne and Monster Hunter Rise, so a good portion of the community is very skeptical about this slippery slope.
It's important to point out that during Iceborne, I didn't really care that much about the amount of DLC that they did, because we had a comparable amount of DLC in the game. So like, for instance, you look at Iceborne, you have the, what are they called? The Guild Palace weapons, which looked phenomenal. You have other weapons that we got through special events, stuff like that, which looked phenomenal. We had plenty of layered armor and collaboration events, which all looked phenomenal. So in turn, Capcom was like, we're going to monetize the ever-living shit out of the Hunter's Room. And I was like, that's fine. I don't care. Sure. I think that's perfectly fine. You want to monetize that and people want to make their room be like all special with special materials and all of this thing. That is perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, do whatever you want with that. And they really went all out in Iceborne when it came to that stuff. And I was still like, yeah, that's fine. However, we still had a lot of stuff that we got through events and stuff like that, right? However, when you look at Rise, it was a lot different. We got some stuff in game, but we had way more like layered armor, weapons, and all of these things in paid DLC than necessarily in the game itself. And even then, I just pointed out, wow, Rise is really like pushing it here, but I wasn't even that much against it. The problem is specifically that these weapons, they have unique animations, and you cannot deny that they are much higher quality than the other weapons that we have in the game. Like straight up, whether or not you like them, that is your prerogative. In terms of like actual quality of the design of the weapons, of the animation of the weapons, I particularly think that it is superior to anything that is in the game. The attention to detail that these weapons have received is much greater than a lot of the stuff that we have in the game.
There is a lot to say about this topic. It is a very nuanced topic that deserves its own video. And of course, I do not condone anyone doing this, kicking players out of their session just because they are using paid DLC.
I don't think you should kick players out of your session just because they're using paid DLC. But I also think that a lot of people are grossly exaggerating. Like there was a dude saying, oh, this morning I got kicked 12 times. I'm like, and then there was somebody in my chat, I think it was Dip King, who got kicked like 5 times. But Dip King was using Gunlance. And it's important to mention that Gunlance users tend to get kicked because of bullet barrage. So a lot of the reasons why Gunlance users get kicked might not be because of the weapon thing. It might be because people don't want to deal with bullet barrage.
It's purely cosmetic, it doesn't affect the game in any way, and even if it did, the fault of it existing is on the developers and not on the players that have chosen to purchase them. Now,
Yes.
This practice is of course meant to essentially just punish the players that have bought the DLC and essentially make it so that they have a worse experience playing their game. This is very reminiscent of something that happened a lot in World of Warcraft, where players would use the /spit emote on other players that have purchased
True, though. Oh, man. Hey, listen. If you spent your money... Look, World of Warcraft is a very different situation. And I will tell you what. I'm not necessarily against what they were doing in World of Warcraft. I'm not. Because, listen, we're not even close to the level of what World of Warcraft did. But, this is the path. This is the path to which leads to where World of Warcraft is. So I'm not even against the /spit thing. It is what it is.
Cosmetics, especially mounts, that were exclusive to the store. This became such a big problem that at some point, Blizzard ended up essentially changing the way the emote worked, so you would no longer spit on players and you would just spit on the floor.
I just want you to understand something about this, by the way, which I don't know if DarkHero is going to bring up. Blizzard removed the ability to spit on other players before they removed the ability of players to use the N racial slur with a hard R. They were quicker to protect the people that are spending exorbitant amounts of money in their cash store than to protect, other people that are being targeted by racial slurs. Just want to point that out.
Again, it is understandable that you might not want paid DLC layered weapons and armors. It is completely understandable. But this is something that should not happen at all. This post in specific goes on to say that the player was kicked from 12 different sessions just because they had the
Again, I think this dude's exaggerating.
lost code layered weapons, which is absolutely insane. Now, I personally don't play online a lot in Monster Hunter. I feel like the game is already very easy as it is, so going online the game ends up being too easy, barely feels like I'm playing against a monster and more like a training dummy. And sometimes it ends up being a bit of a mess with 4 different players each of them having their Silkbind attacks and also their Palamutes. I'm not that much into that, but I know that some players love the cooperative experience of Monster Hunter, and it is very sad to see that this is happening in the Monster Hunter community. And just because you're kicking a player that has bought the DLC layered weapons or armors, it doesn't really change the fact that the developers are probably going to add even more of that to the store. It is simply inevitable at this point, the trajectory is already set, and I'm sure that by the end of Sunbreak we're going to have like 3 different sets of layered weapons, at the very least, to purchase from the store.
I hope not. I really hope that's not the case.
And I also get why people aren't upset or don't think it's a big deal, because after all, Monster Hunter is such a great franchise and we're always getting these free title updates, we're getting new events and new extra content, we just got 3 new monsters added to the game, and the endgame of Sunbreak keeps getting expanded upon, which is all great and nice, but I have to say, if your reasoning for buying these DLC weapons is because you want to support the developers, I'm sorry, but the money is not going to the developers. That is just not happening. But I'm also not going to sit.
Big true! Big fucking true, dude! The money's going to the upper management, man. That's where that money's going. Upper management and investors. It ain't going to little Timmy down in action combat planning or whatever.
Here and criticize anyone for buying them because, well, they just look amazing. They have these special glow effects that no other weapon in the game has, and well, that's why they are being sold at a premium. I don't think we're going to be getting.
Just dropped by to say, have a great day ahead everyone. Ruri, your voice sounds super tired, stay hydrated man.
Mary Anchors, thank you very much for being roasting this for 6 months. Tip of the hat. Appreciate the support. Thank you.
A battle pass or pay to win weapons in Monster Hunter, in Sunbreak or in future titles. I don't think it's going to get to that point, but it is certainly alarming that this is the direction that we're going with Monster Hunter. But if it stays that way, then I can graciously accept, if you will, and I might even purchase maybe an item or 2. I haven't bought anything in Monster Hunter Rise or Sunbreak.
I bought the tracks. Hells yeah, dude. Get that good track going on the Celiana track on the hub. Hells yeah.
But I did buy a couple of room decorations back in Monster Hunter World. I don't typically buy anything from the DLC store, especially since I play on PC and I have access to mods, but that ends up being
We can't talk about those things. Uh-oh, DarkHero's getting blacklisted. You can't talk about mods, bro. What the hell?
a different conversation, because obviously I'm going out of my way to add stuff that isn't intended by developers. But going back to the toxicity in the community, yeah, especially as a content creator, I get to observe just how so many people feel about the game and the direction it's going, how they feel about the updates and everything. And it's clear that there has been a rise in negative perception about the Monster Hunter franchise in the recent years. Some people say this started with World or Iceborne. I'm not quite sure. Of course, we got a huge influx of new players with Monster Hunter World, so that could be the center of it all. But of course, we're talking about having a community with over 20 million players. Monster Hunter is no longer the niche it was, it is now pretty much a mainstream title. So again, as I said at the beginning of the video, I want to emphasize that this very vocal but yet very small minority does not represent the community at large. Thankfully, I keep getting nothing but praise and very helpful comments. People are so nice in the community to me ever since.
Except when you decided to do videos about Dauntless and God Eater 3. Didn't get a lot of praise for those, did you, DarkHero? I believe at some point people were calling you a traitor or something like that.
I started making videos on Monster Hunter World, and I was very scared going into making videos about Monster Hunter World because despite me playing Monster Hunter for a very long time, I was never a hardcore hunter. So I was very scared of getting anything wrong, But whenever I got something wrong, the community would always be helpful in correcting me, but in a very positive way, which I found was very helpful and very encouraging to keep me making content for the game, content that people enjoyed. I've also seen some other videos on YouTube, other creators talking about the community being toxic. Personally, I haven't experienced this as much, but I do want to point out this video made by a Brazilian Monster Hunter creator. I think the video is very good, so if you do speak Portuguese or Brazilian, I do recommend that you check it out because he talked.
The hell do you mean Portuguese or Brazilian? What the fuck? Portuguese or Brazilian?
About a lot of nuanced topics and how the community perceives the game, and sometimes the online experience when you join these random lobbies can certainly be less than welcoming. For example, players criticizing your mixed sets, talking about why you're not dealing a lot of damage, why are you using that weapon, why aren't you pulling your own weight, that kind of stuff. Some of you guys...
Bro, people that obsess over the amount of damage that somebody else is dealing in Monster Hunter, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's just not that kind of game. People are just way too serious about, like, and when people start installing like DPS meters in Monster Hunter and they put up like the monster's health bar, and it's just like, bro, well, what game are you playing right now? It's so weird. Weird champ.
Might remember, but Gaijin Hunter back in the day used to say a lot that he was kicked from a ton of lobbies in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate because he loved to play as a brawler, even despite he himself, more often than not, dealing a lot more damage than the other players that were using regular weapons. Even despite that, he would get kicked out of lobbies all the time. So it looks like when you go into these random open lobbies, there is a chance that you will be met with negative criticism and even some toxicity. There's also those stickers and shoutouts that people...
I still feel bad about one time that I like called... I didn't really call someone out, but it was in one of my lobbies, and I was just inspecting players' gear at random. I think this player even asked me to look at his gear, and this dude was rocking like... His axe already... Not axe, his hammer already had like... I don't know if it was purple sharpness, but it was very close. And then on top of it, he put like maximum handicraft and then razor sharp and then protective paw. Like it was all of the sharpness skills imaginable on this one hammer. And I was looking at this and I found it funny and I laughed. And I even felt bad. I was like, man, that, I felt a little bit bad.
Use in the middle of a hunt to negatively criticize other players, talking about them being bad, or they say a slur whenever someone dies in an online hunt. Again, I don't play a lot of online,
Yeah, sometimes people go a little bit too far with the death messages. The thing is, a lot of times they're playing with like close, tight-knit groups, and those messages are supposed to troll those groups. Like, don't be sorry, be better. And it's like it's supposed to be like a personal joke between friends. And sometimes it gets a little bit weirder. Like there was the dude who kept coming into my lobbies who had like a porn-related name or something. I forget what it was. But yeah, there was a dude that had like a very offensive name in my lobbies like all the time.
really don't. I play mostly solo, so I don't really get to experience this a lot, but I get a lot of reports about this on Discord and also in my comment section. So please tell me if you have experienced this in the past. The takeaway here is that, yeah, there is some negativity in the community, but despite that, it is still a very, very positive community, by far the most positive community that I was ever a part of. So despite all of this drama, kicking the players and criticizing builds and whatnot, all I have to say is just have fun. It's not a serious game, there is no PvP, there is no competition, there is no ranked ladder, just have fun with the game and share your passion for Monster Hunter with as many people as possible. If you don't like something about the game, Capcom often releases various different surveys to the community so you can fill them out and tell
Look at
them
the
what it
Wiggler
is
head.
that you would
What
like
the
to
hell?
see changed in the game.
You can't do
At
that.
this point, Monster Hunter 6 is probably midway through development, so if you really dislike layered weapons being paid DLC, then make sure that you fill out those surveys and send them to Capcom, so that maybe they won't be a thing in the next Monster Hunter game. I want to say thank you to Rurikhan for bringing attention
What
to
the
this
hell?
topic. I wasn't aware that people were being kicked out of lobbies because of this. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know there was a Monster Hunter Rage subreddit. There might be some funny posts on that subreddit, so I will browse it and see if there's something to be made there. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. My name is DarkHero, and as always, happy hunting.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you gave me a shot on this video. Thank you. Anyway, guys, make sure to check out the video. Leave it a like. All that. Wait, I'm not subscribed. Oh, right. This is your second channel. I haven't subscribed yet. God damn it. Leave it a like. But like I always say, don't go in there, like, and then leave. Go in there and either keep it playing in the background. Go in there later and watch it. Just give it some watch time before leaving, because otherwise, algorithm's going to be bad for DarkHero. But like, as he said in the video, I also feel like a majority of this negativity is coming from a very small minority of the community, which is kind of like the same thing that tends to happen in Dark Souls. That's my experience, at least in both Monster Hunter and Dark Souls. We have these very vocal minorities that tend to be very toxic, and it gives people the wrong impression that there's actually like so many toxic people in the community, when in the reality it's a lot less than that. It's just these people are really, really loud, and a majority of the community, they're like, they don't even want to engage with a lot of these people, so like whatever, they just play the game and have fun and watch videos and whatnot. That's the way that I feel anyways. I feel like the community is awesome. It's just there is a small, but this is the thing, it always exists in every community. There's always a small or a bigger pool of players that is going to be toxic. It just varies according to the game. So for instance, League of Legends, there's going to be a lot more toxic people, right? But anyways, that is my thoughts on this video.